Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Grey Board Gamer here with the continuing playthrough of Eldritch Horror by Fantasy Flight Games. Somehow we're going to have to try to manage this situation. I know I don't have that many Mythos cards left. This is going to probably cause us to end the game here. The Secrets of the Past. It's in the Himalayas. I want to work my way towards it, but if we have a reckoning effect, it's going to disappear and end up somewhere else. We have to solve this mystery in Tunguska. There's just a lot going on, and I need to figure out a way to try to manage the situation. First thing I want to do is I'm going to change the lead investigator to Charlie Kane in the hopes that I'm going to move him to London, and I want to hopefully spawn more clue tokens. And if he goes first, and I get lucky, maybe a clue token will appear in a location where investigator is at. So first, I want to take Charlie Kane for his first action, move him to London. Then while he's there in London, I'm going to test his influence to try to acquire some useful items from the reserve. Mr. Kane has an influence of 4 plus a personal assistant. Gives him 5 shots at it. And we have 3 successes. And due to the personal assistant, we're allowed to reroll 1, which is not a success, so 3 successes. We've had 3 successes, which every item in the reserve right now has a cost of 2, so we can get any one item. And I don't know if I want to take out a bank loan to get 2 items. That's a tough choice. Let me think. I definitely want to take the fine clothes for Charlie, because with that, any 6s he rolls when acquiring assets counts as 2 successes. So I'll give that to Charlie Kane in case we're around long enough for something else to happen. Draw another item for here, and it's the arcane manuscripts, which allow us to gain +1 lore when resolving spell effects, and I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to acquire a bank loan. Next we have Mark Harrigan here in Rome. I'm going to have him prepare for travel, gain a train ticket, move 1 space, and immediately use that train ticket. We need to get him close to Tunguska, because he's the only one that has any clues right now, and we need to solve that mystery. Next we have Norman Withers here in Buenos Aires. There's a maniac here and a blue gate. The Omen track is going to move to the red next, so that blue gate's not a threat right now, but will be soon. First thing I want to do is have him prep for travel with a ship ticket. Then for his next action move, use that ship ticket to get to Antarctica, because I have a feeling that if we have a trigger effect, that's where the expedition marker is going to end up. Just trying to take a chance, and hopefully it'll end up there if it moves again. For Akachi, over here in Shanghai, with a Bayaki, I want to move her over to the Himalayas, so in case that doesn't move, she'll be there. But I'm probably going to have her work on getting that clue, because she's going to need 1, 2, or she's going to need 2 actually, but getting 1 is a start. And for her second action, she is already hurt pretty bad. Her health is down to 2, sanity's at 4. I could use her to look at the top 2 gates, but since she's going to have an encounter, I'm going to go ahead and heal her 1 health and an additional sanity just to prepare her for what might happen. That'll put her health to 3 and her sanity to 5. Our first encounter of the encounter phase is for Charlie Kane in London. Inside the Hertfordshire asylum, a patient asks you if you've seen the yellow sign. You listen to his story of the King in Yellow. I'm going to do an observation test with Charlie, who has a current observation of 3. Charlie Kane has an observation of 3. Oof. And failed. Charlie failed, so we're not going to get any new clues on the board. And the inmate's gibberish imprints itself onto his subconscious and causes Charlie to gain a hallucinations condition. Let's find some hallucinations for Charlie. There we go. And now our lead investigator is hallucinating. Mark is on that city space on his way to Tunguska to have his encounter. You wander through the aisles of an antique bookstore. Although many extremely rare books can be found here, the organizational system is almost impossible to decipher. So Mark will have to do a lore check. And his current lore is 1. Mark is a soldier, not a researcher, but he gets 1 chance, even though it's a -1 and he has a lore of 1. Oh, look at Mark! Way to bring the research, Mark. If you pass, you're able to track down a hidden gem, gain 1 tome artifact. Well, we get to gain an artifact. That's a good thing, but it's going to be a tome, which means that's an item. There's our first tome in the stack. We'll shuffle those up in a minute. And Mark has found Tkahalat. We'll go with that pronunciation, sure. He can test lore, which is lore is 1, as an action. If he passes, he can spend 1 sanity to choose 1 monster on his space to lose 3 health. Well, that's pretty powerful, but Mark is usually kind of low on sanity, so if we can pass this off to somebody with more sanity, that might be a better option. Next we have Norman Withers. He's down here in Antarctica on a sea space. We'll see what happens to good old Norman down there in Antarctica. One of the sailors is singing an old sea shanty about a woman searching for her dead husband. The story seems familiar to you. Lore test -1. And Norman's current lore is 3. Norman's listening to that song and something about is familiar. Something very familiar. Oh, that is a lore test -1. So he only gets 2 shots at it. Oof. He knows the song but just can't figure it out. If you pass, which he did not, and there is no penalty for failing, so nothing bad happens to him, but nothing good happens either. Finally, we have Akachi, who's over there in the Himalayas. She can't do anything about the research encounter because she would need 2 clues. So she's going to have a research encounter. I mean, she can't do anything about the expedition, so she'll have a research encounter in the wilderness. This far away from city light, you get an unparalleled view of the sky. You comb the sky, hoping to catch sight of a meteor shower. Test observation. Her current observation is 2. Akachi's trying really hard to find that meteor shower. She strains and looks, but alas, she has no luck. If you pass, and again there is no negative consequence for failing, nothing really bad happens, but also nothing good happens, and that will take care of our encounters phase. Now we move on to our possibly horrible Mythos card. And just as I feared, it has the Reckoning effect. First, we'll move the Omen track, have our Reckoning effect, and then spawn another gate. Our Omen track moves to the red gate symbol, which we have one red gate on the board. Because of that one red gate symbol, Doom will advance down to 6. Next we have our awful Reckoning effect that starts a whole chain of events into motion. First with the Serpent People, we're going to roll a die, and then on a 1 or a 2, the closest investigator will move 1 step towards the Serpent People. Will the Serpent People charm one of our investigators towards them? No, they will not. Our next monster is the Cultist, whose Reckoning effect would be on the Ancient One sheet. There's nothing on there. The Shoggoth's Reckoning effect is it recovers all health. It doesn't have any wounds. The last monster we have on the board with a Reckoning effect is our Zombie Horde, who must roll 1 die, and on a 1 or a 2 will advance Doom by 1. We always want to avoid advancing the Doom, so we want anything but a 1 or a 2. And the 6, that's not a 1 or a 2, we'll take that. The Reckoning for all of the monsters on the board is resolved. Next, we would have the Ancient One sheet that has no Reckoning effect. Now we go to our horrible Mythos cards. First we have our Secret to the Past. So we take the Expedition deck and get rid of every current encounter in the Himalayas, and it will move to the only location left, which is Antarctica, which I thought would happen. So if we do not solve this before a trigger effect happens, a Reckoning effect happens again, the game will be over. And then on our Fractured Reality, we discard another Eldritch token off of there. Now that the active Mythos cards have been taken care of, next we go on to player, conditions, and items. Well, I was going to say first up is Norman, but he's not lead investigator. First up is Charlie. He has his hallucinations and needs to test his will, which currently is 2. Charlie's going to test his will of 2 to try and fend off these horrible hallucinations, and is not able to do so. Charlie's hallucinations get the best of him, and we need to flip the card, and he has delusions. You see now that all of this supposed evidence you've been collecting is just nonsense. Discard all of your clues. Your head feels so clear now. All the monsters and conspiracies you've been hunting were obviously figments of your imagination. Discard this card. Well, he doesn't have any clues, so that didn't affect us, and we no longer have to worry about the hallucinations. Next, for Mark Harrigan, he has amnesia, which will have to test his will. And after that, he has his Dark Pact. We'll have to roll 1 die, and on a 1, we'll have to flip that card. First, we're going to test his will, which is 5, in reference to his amnesia condition. And he is successful. Next, we will test his Dark Pact. He rolls 1 die, and anything but a 1 is good for us. It's a 2. A little too close for comfort, but still okay. And finally, the last investigator with a condition is Norman. He has his paranoia that he has to deal with, so he's going to have to test will, which currently is 4 for Norman Withers. Norman's going to test his will against his paranoia. Oh no! He didn't make it. His paranoia is overcoming him. How badly will this paranoia affect Norman? Kleptomania. Against rational thought, you compulsively take what does not belong to you and hide it away. Gain 1 random item asset from the deck. Then you must hide from authorities. Test observation, which his current observation is 3. First, we have to gain 1 random item asset. That's a service, ally, 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 item. First item he gains is a bullwhip. Gain +1 during combat encounters. You may reroll 1 die when resolving a strength test during combat encounters. So now we need to resolve his observation test against what he stole. Norman the Thief is trying to hide from authorities and has no successes. He's not a very good hider. If your test result is less than the value of the asset you gained, which it is, 0 is less than 1, discard the asset and gain a detained condition. Well, Norman, that was terrible. So now we need to gain a detained condition. Not good at all. And the whip that he stole gets taken back away from him. And finally we get to discard the paranoia condition. I almost forgot one of the reckoning effects. Hiding here under a card. Akachi does not get away. She has hallucinations, and she'll need to test her will, which currently is 4. Akachi is trying to resist her hallucinations and is very successful with 2 6s. Now that does take care of all the reckoning effects, and then we had to spawn a gate, and this gate will be in Arkham. Another gate opens up in Arkham, and out of the gate comes a zombie. Before your very eyes, the stars shift in the night sky. Constellations break apart and reform, shattering your previous predictions of the omens. Perplexing stars. Move the omen counterclockwise by 1, then advance doom by 1 for each gate on the game board that corresponds to the current omen. So we're moving the omen track counterclockwise back to the blue gate symbol. There is currently 1 blue gate on the board in Buenos Aires, which will cause our doom to go down to 5 and put us in a bad situation, because now when it does move forward again, it will move to red, which we have 2 red gates out right now. That ends our Mythos phase and ends everything for this turn. Things are not looking good for our investigators. We're 1 step away from the game being lost due to the secrets of the past. So if our next Mythos card has a trigger effect, triggers the reckoning effect, then this will go away and end the game for us. I don't have any clues for Norman down here. I only needed one to have him try and get rid of this. I just don't see a way for us to stop that from happening. Maybe there is. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. I'll take a look at the board and hoping for you to join us in our next turn, which I have a sneaking suspicion is going to be our last. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next video.